Welcome to a new spirit that will warm your heart. Welcome to a new spirit. Every day's a brand new start. Where encouraging words can heal your soul and dreams will be renewed. Welcome to a new spirit, a new spirit in you.
Hey, this bread looks flat. Did we run out of yeast? Welcome to the New Spirit radio show by the Society of Novus Spiritus, founded by world-renowned spiritual teacher Sylvia Browne. Today's date, I sure hope it's February 1st, because that's what I wrote down. Coming to you live from California, both NorCal and SoCal, are your hosts, Reverend Tom Bigley and MIT Catherine Taylor, playing audio segments we call Messages from Spirit. Why? Answering the ultimate question, why are we here? And what is our purpose?
These segments are recorded trance sessions from Francine, Sylvia's spirit guide. So for new people, Sylvia was a full trance medium, which means Sylvia contracted to let her and Francine's essences exchange places in Sylvia's body. We think of our bodies being similar to a car. One driver gets out and another driver gets in. And this allowed Francine to share spiritual knowledge with us directly from the other side.
On occasion, another master teacher and healer, a guide named Rahim, would exchange with Sylvia and present us with spiritual information as well. Francine and Rahim shared directly from sources like the Akashic Records, Mother and Father God, our spirit guides, Christ, and many others.
And meanwhile, during trance, Sylvia would sit on a nice bench in a rose garden on the other side.
And here are our hosts, MIT Catherine Taylor and Reverend Tom Bigley. Hey, how's it going?
It's going well.
We be here, and we be up, active, and energized.
Yes.
Real quick, our agenda for those of you that are new, we like to start out with how do you use Novus Spiritus philosophy? How did you use it? And for those of you that are just listening in or have been here listening, write it in the comments. We love to share and hear how other people get to use Novus philosophy and how it's influenced and how it affects you. Then we get into some announcements. I'll talk about special prayers. Then we get to listen to the trance segments and we can participate in a meditation. I will share some closing notes. And you're all invited to participate in the special prayer service called the Novena, which is later on. I'll then talk about some appreciation. Then we conclude with a prayer by Sylvia.
Wonderful.
So first up is we light our candle. Let's see if I can not crash the internet with the clacky noises. There we go.
It's funny.
And this one should last for the entire show.
Wonderful.
Fun. Some quick announcements. So let's see. I did mention last week, and I'm going to mention it this week. No show on February 8th. That's next Wednesday. I will be taking some time out. Time out, not time off, time out. Whatever the positive is, not the one that you're being reprimanded. Let's see. How also do us a favor and yourself a favor. Share, promote, like, subscribe, and click the bell. That is always helpful, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. You will be able to provide better notices and things of that nature here in the near future. Of course, you can always donate. That's always helpful when you can, because that helps keep this available to everyone to share. Let's see. I think that was all my... Yep, that was all my announcements. So where did I go? There I am.
Wonderful.
So let's jump into how did you use Novus Spiritus philosophy? So do you want to do rock, scissors, paper? Do you want to go first? Do you want to point at me?
Let's do rock, scissors, paper.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Rock, scissor, paper.
Oh no.
Hey, look at that.
Two scissors.
Okay, so again, rock, scissor, paper.
Oh, you win. You get to pick
I
this
win.
time.
All right. You know what?
Finally, Tom gets to pick.
There you go. You know what I'm going to pick? Let's see who's made comments in the who's posted in the comments. Let's do that one.
Yes. All right, comments. So
But
within
then we got to
shares-
remember to do ourselves too.
Yes.
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 We'll see.
It's wonderful. So within shares, Asna answered my prayers, and now we have a great new place to live in beautiful Ohio. That is
Wow.
wonderful. Congratulations. That's exciting. Other people are saying lots of hellos, and I think folks are still going to be sharing their stories. So that's
All right. Well, as they're typing, then I'll share mine.
wonderful.
Let's see where. So this kind of turned into like a teaching moment in essence.
Oh,
But
good.
it was. What does my note say? My note says cementing emotion and intellect. Ask when. Man, I wrote this and then I'm like, what does this mean? So let me read it. Maybe I'll make sense out of it. And then it will be teaching me. So it's a teaching moment for me. Keeping track easier. Oh, okay. So we've heard the term cementing our emotion and intellect. What does that mean to everyone? Well, I'll give you a what it means for me. You know, we have emotion and intellect. Some medical doctors and psychologists debate whether it's the left or right or front or back or wherever it is, but most agree that we have emotion and intellect within us. And we talk about cementing that emotion and intellect. What is that? That's asking that, hey, emotion is the mover, but you got to think about what you're doing. So just ask for it. Along those lines, one of the things that's been I don't want to say a catalyst for me, in the winter solstice prayer, it talks about cementing your option line. I was like, wow, okay, why hasn't that,
Interesting.
it just caught my attention, and it's like, wait a minute. It's almost like I had never heard it before, but how many times have I read the winter solstice prayer? So it says it's asked to cement your option line. What is your option line? Well, that's the one area in your life that was not charted, and you get to write things in, ask for things, program for things, but also that's the one that seems to be that one area in your life. The way I recall the description of it is, that's the one area in your life that doesn't really, catch up or doesn't meet your expectations. There's always something falling short. And what you can do with that is say, okay, it's be as positive as you can when thinking about or talking about that portion of your life. So mine happens to be what is it? My personal life, which is like your
Love life.
Thank you. That's the word I was thinking of. Love life. And there are several others. Do you happen to remember what your option line is?
Yes, my option line is also my love life. So if you think of
interesting.
like your best friend and they have that one area of their life that is always a hot mess, they're like, why do you have everything else together except for this one thing? Like that's probably leaning in the direction of an option line. So some people's finances are just perpetually a disaster. Some people's family life. Sylvia's option line was perpetually very, very fraught and all over the place. So the most common option line and the easiest option line is personal life, love life. So.
The easiest. Excuse me. I hadn't heard that, but that's how do you say? Helps me feel better.
Yeah.
So along those lines, in the winter solstice prayer, it says cement your option line, and to me that was relating to I need to do better at the programming and not just leave it to go however I got to do something with it, pull things together, and be more cognizant or work with it,
Aware?
as it were. Be aware of it, and am I doing a good job with it, or am I just being a sloth about it? And for me, it was like, I for a long time, I think I've been a sloth about it. But that's because I'm also, me personally, I'm ironing out other things in my life, negative programming and things of that nature. So that because I'm more aware of it, it's like, guess what? If let me look at my option line, where could I do better in that area? And yes, I found some ways I can do things different, think or talk, and be more expressive about it. So that's something been helpful for me. But I wanted to read the paragraph in the winter
Please do.
solstice prayer
Yeah.
that talks about that. So in the towards the beginning of the prayer, it says, ask that as we look into our emotional and mental well-being, that we ask for guidance to fulfill our chart, keep us on track, and make our lives easier financially, spiritually, with family, friends, socially, and that our option lines become cemented to fulfill our destiny.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like,
Option line.
that one caught my attention. So I wrote this note here, option life area, and I'm not sure where I got this, if it was from a book,
Sure.
but it says option life, area of life that is not written or charted. You may feel not to have control of events or circumstances, so program for the best.
Okay.
I think that was my comment, not not from one of the books. But that's my
It makes a difference.
yeah.
It makes a difference. It does. So where I started to notice myself moving out of the difficulties of my own love life problems was just starting to recognize, like, what are the patterns that are contributing to chaos. What are the patterns that I'm doing that are where I'm not taking responsibility for choices that I'm making. And so for me, I was very much, I think that it really made a lot of sense for me to have the love life option line as pair with the rejection secondary theme that I have.
Yeah.
So that I could stop getting into patterns of like trying to be always like wishful thinking all the time for every new person, boy or girl that I would meet. Was like, I was just too hopeful, and I needed to learn how to grow up from that. So it paired really well, and I'm so thankful that I have just a wonderful, amazing husband, and we're a wonderful match. And Christy Frame told us that we've had 3 past lives together. One in Atlantis, one in like medieval Europe, and another one in like Egypt area. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
super
a
interesting.
little more time together and work together, and
Yeah, we're a really good match.
the other.
Different people, but a very good match. Yeah.
Do you, out of curiosity, have you recognized patterns of behavior that would sort of be asking for rejection?
Oh, I know some people really have had that. So I think like the phrase that modern psychology uses a lot for that is self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Where like you keep pushing at a person until like to test, like, are you going to reject me now? If I do this, am I going to reject you now? But that isn't really that isn't really me. I think if anything, like I will try to step away from an interaction before they have a chance to reject me. And that is something that I'm in the process of overcoming. And
I see. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Because that gives me some things to think about and different ways how that applies.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
because I'm not in those shoes and working with that, so it's always fun.
Yeah.
That's why it's fun to share and say, hey, what do you
Yes.
see? How do you how do you see yourself? Where are your trip up points? And what are you doing to to overcome and
Yeah.
keep moving forward?
Yeah, it's weird that rejection is such a challenging and painful idea, but I am in a place
Right.
in my life where if I'm rejected, I'm actually very grateful because I'm like, then this person is not good for me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, bye. Have a good life. It's fine. It's fine. Like it's a complete 180, and I can see the joy and the wisdom that Father God has made in like allowing this to be an area of growth.
Yeah.
Rejection is a positive thing for me. It's like someone rejects me, bye. Later. I don't need to spend another ounce of my existence on this.
Yeah. And so you're it sounds like you're doing well with your secondary theme. And
Yes.
keeping it as positive as possible. Fun.
Yes, that's
Okay.
how I keep it positive. Okay.
Your turn.
All right, cool. So I had to, so I've been doing minister classes
Training.
with Reverend Ellen,
Yep.
training, yes. And we've been writing like sermons basically every
Fun.
class and reading them to each other. And so right now we're reviewing Sylvia's book, if you can see what I see. Oh God.
Yeah, I know.
The light is a mess. If you can
There
see
you
what
go.
I see, it's beautiful. And she talks about all of the tenets that are at the core of the church. And so it just goes through each one and it shares her thoughts behind all of them and how they can be applied to our lives. And it's a lovely book. And so I got assigned the two tenets that when I first read them, I thought were really dumb.
Oh.
The first time I read them, I was like, these are silly. Like, whatever. Take what you want, leave the rest. And so I left those behind in the dust. And so I got assigned like the two initial ones that were my first bad reaction. I just thought that was hysterical because it was a total 360. And I was like, all right, thank you, God. So I sat down, I really, thought about him. And I was so happy that I've actually like, as a spiritual person, I've really worked on the concepts that were underneath them. And so I'll share one. So one of them is, whatever thou lovest thou. And I thought to myself the first time I heard that and read it, I was like, why? Why is this the most formal, ridiculous language? Why? And surely, like, even Francine even Sylvia at like the very start of the chapter is like, surely when you're all reading this, you're like, that's not true always. Because whatever you love doesn't always love you back. Like, that's not how things work. But in terms of things that I've learned as a Gnostic and I've worked on spiritually, it makes sense if you, instead of thinking about it in terms of like other people, of like loving somebody else, if you love someone, they'll love you back. It's not about that. It's about whatever you love on the inside. And so if there's a part of yourself that, for instance, loves singing and loves music, the more that you love it, it will sustain you and splash back at you and help you grow and help you find joy and help you just reach magnanimous amounts of love. So someone asked Francine in a trance, for instance, saying, like, hey, are people born with like with natural ability in something like talent? How does talent work? And Francine says, like, no, whatever you love, your ability is going to rise up to the amount that you love it. And so that's what this tenet is about. And then like the thing that we carry on the inside, that the deepest, like not just about like if you love nerding out about like learning about physics or learning about music or learning about, it's like all the billions of things out there that are out there for you to love and, you know, play with. What's at the very core of that is God, right? So at the core of that is your love for, so whatever thou lovest thou, like the thing that we can love, like the deepest, that is the most sustaining, is our love for God. And there is nothing more holy than that. And so that makes sense to use the most formal language on planet Earth. Whatever thou lovest thou. And so I was like, oh, it makes sense now why they went with, okay, that's my hypothesis, and I'm going to roll with it. So I was so excited. I felt like such a nerd, and I loved it.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. I like that view, that description and perspective. That's fun because that sparked my. I don't think I had thought about, you know, what you were talking about. What Francine, her comment about, you know, loving what is within you. That makes some fun sense. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so it's excited to share
real
that.
Quick, can people write in the comments if they can hear us okay on both Facebook and YouTube? Because it's either
I'm seeing comments from both of them.
What?
I am seeing comments from both.
Okay, because
both Facebook and YouTube.
I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi, but I'm monitoring or watching YouTube, and it keeps hiccuping. So I just want to make sure we're still like going forward. I don't see any other indication of a problem, but anyway.
Yeah, let us know. Please. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Shall I read a few comments?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. All right, cool. So Melissa shares, I've been paying more attention to my dreams because of chats I had with Kat. My mother, who passed away, told me in a dream that in life I should let things go so I could fly free. And she loved birds, and so Melissa was having tons of like just encounters with birds that were really like impacting her. She was like wondering about it. And then she sent me a message later. She's like, I had a dream where my mom explained what the birds were about. It's about letting things go so I can fly free.
Wow.
It's so wonderful. It's so sweet and touching. Yeah, it's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. And Ramona shares, I have been visualizing all the colors we use for meditation. Lovely. It's very refreshing. Thomas shares, I prayed to Asna if I should write a certain story I was working on. I got an affirmation last week that said, no, I should move on with a different story. And I was very much relieved. It's good.
Cool. Signs are so fascinating. And for those of you that are new, you know, asking for a sign really cements, you know, if you've got doubts about, you know, what we talk about and does this philosophy work, and it's like, ask for a sign. You know, we don't believe in coincidences, and it's like really cements that, how do you say, you know, there's more to our life than what we see in front of our hands and face. And you know, the physicalness, there's things that are going on a spiritual level that help us, support us. But yes, we're here in a education environment, a challenging environment. But yes, those it's always fun to hear people's you know, answers to signs, answer to prayers of
absolutely
in the different unique ways people provide those. The spirits provide those.
That's really cool. And then we have confirmation from both Facebook and YouTube that they can hear us okay. So
cool.
All right, one last comment, and then we can move on. So Miss LJ shares one more sign. This is really cool. She says, I've been praying for more career guidance from Father God. A few days ago, I experienced a dream that showed 4 lanes with a warm glow directing me in either lane as a sound direction. Ah, what a nice offering. It's so affirming. Whatever you choose will be right, it sounds like. It's cool.
All right. That does. Oh, there we go. We are onto special prayers, and of course, if you've got more comments, write them in, and we will see if we get a chance to come back to those.
Yes.
Let's see. Special prayers. This is the time we like to share that. Hey, if you know someone in need of some special prayer, whether it's finances or health or life circumstances or just emotional healing of some sort, by all means, let's include them in this special prayer. We're going to take a moment of silence here. And if you've got something you'd like to post, you can always go to the website and put it in per chain, or you can post it here in the comments. And regardless of when or where you're listening to this, because there is no time on the other side, we can ask, and that energy gets out there. So let's take a moment of silence. We're going to ask for Mother God and the archetypes and archangels and our guides to get out there and help those that we are thinking about that could use some help. Visualize what that outcome is, what you think the best circumstance would be. So let's take a moment of silence and amen.
Amen.
And of course, be the prayer. If you see a need, fill it.
Yes.
Oh, let's see. Oh, I can tell. Let's see. New Spirit Radio is to. Oh, we're doing pretty good with that. Appreciate everybody sticking to Novus philosophy while we're on here, and also if you are streaming challenged during these times while we're live, and you'd like to listen in live, we have a conference call number that you can call and jump on with the others that are listening in that just happen to have challenges with streaming. So, and that phone number is 888-534-2696. So you can listen while we are on live. Appreciate that you keep muted. That way everybody gets a chance for a wonderful session while we're listening. Now we have, it says here we have trance segments.
Woohoo! Exciting. We're going to talk about the really super exciting topics today of depression and anxiety.
Wow!
No!
Exciting!
So, these joyful things to talk about. Okay, so let me get my notes out. And these are actually super insightful, so I can't wait to listen to this with everyone. Okay. The positive function of anxiety attacks. Anxiety and depression are like a glove being inside out. Most depressed people don't realize they're depressed. Ask yourself, when was the last time you woke up feeling like today was going to be awesome?
6 years ago, 10 years ago. Oh, sorry. This is time for take notes. Here we go.
And I couldn't do anything, or I'm a father and I couldn't provide, or I'm a husband or a wife or whatever it might be, or I'm somebody without someone and I'm angry about that. So the only way I have to go with that is anxiety. What are you going to do? Stand on a chair and scream out, I'm lonely and unloved? No, that's not acceptable, you see.
Yes, Francine, what do we do if we have somebody who has an anxiety attack? What can we do to help out or do the right thing?
Try to get them into some kind of meditative state so at least you can release this. See, this is, and I know from whence you speak, is from guilt that has been unleashed because of misuse of money, of things. And you see that now what's the good side about this is the anger is turned inward on the person and they realize their failings. So I'm not too sure I wouldn't like the anxieties play out. But the problem is, in the case of which you speak, they think they're having a heart attack. They think they're not. But I would be, because he's certainly old enough, I would face him with the fact, don't you realize this is your own guilt? But that's a good thing, that you have fostered this female to take money and do all these things. And so guess what? Your guilt has now come into play. And when your guilt came into play, your anxieties come into play. See, thank God, because at one point, you could have been very concerned that there was no feelings there at all. So at least anxiety is a good earmark to show you that at least the person has feelings. And maybe the anxiety is what they need not to do it again.
Yeah. It's a lesson.
It's a lesson.
Shock if you roger.
Yes.
You touched on depression, and okay, anxiety. Does anxiety precede depression?
Sometimes they go hand in hand. Usually, anxiety will come first and depression comes afterwards.
Yeah.
Depression is the quieter one of the anxiety, but it's nothing more than a glove inside out. That's all it is.
Well said.
It seems to cling. The people that I deal with, sometimes I wonder.
Now, in high states of anxiety, people can be very productive. They can be almost manic-y. And then what comes afterwards is a very deep, deep, dark depression.
That's non-productive.
It's non-productive.
But if it's acted out as anger, how do you convince that person, A, that they're depressed and they need to start looking a different way to handle things, and B, it's inappropriate?
Yes, channeling is, and also get the person to accept the fact. See, a lot of people don't want to accept the fact that they're anxious or depressed. Not to divulge anything, because she reads for so many people. Sylvia argued with the woman for 10 minutes trying to convince her she was depressed, not because she wanted to program her, but the woman was sitting there flaccid. And like she said to the woman, you don't have to be a psychic to see that. And she said to the woman, well, what are you happy about? Nothing. But she wasn't depressed, she said. So finally, Sylvia said, see, the woman didn't even know that she was.
Yeah.
Do you find joy in anything? No. Do you look forward to life? Of course not. So we had to keep reiterating, that is what is called depression. Once the devil is named, then at least, and you get the person to admit that I am in a state of high anxiety and depression, then you can work with them. But if you can't get them to realize that they're depressed, and there's many people in this room sitting here now that don't have a clue that they're depressed. They've always been that way. They have no idea that they're moving at a slow pace. And the only way you can really audit yourself on that is to ask yourself right now, when was the last time you were deliriously happy? I mean, just euphorically happy. When was the last time you really looked forward to doing something with such excitement?
That's a tall order.
When was the last time you got up in the morning and felt that truly in your heart this was a wonderful day? If you have not felt any of those things, I can guarantee you right now, you are a depressed entity. Yes.
When I first came here, Sylvia told me that she knew I was depressed, and she said that it will go away soon. But it took 6 years and 5 different drugs. Now I know I'm not depressed. But the hardest thing is, even after I had been in a mental hospital for depression, 2 years later, I had to go to the screening day for depression in October, the nationwide screening day, to be able, and I had to hear the symptoms to be able to actually identify them in myself.
Oh, yes.
What happens is, like, the thing...
If you don't accept the truth, there's nothing anybody can do with you.
But you can't, the thing you were evaluating with is sort of like broken.
That's right.
And so you can't even...
Well, it's like Sylvia said, if you've always eaten strawberries, you don't know the difference. So you just think that's the only fruit. So, and she spends so much of her time dealing with depression, but people don't realize they're depressed. They think they're all right.
Even the people around you sometimes don't know.
They don't know.
When I found out there was a cure for it had a name. That was the important thing, let alone a cure. I mean, I didn't even know it had a name because it felt so awful.
Oh,
I
yes.
thought I was the only one in the world, and the worse you are, the more you hide it from everybody else, and you try to be.
Well, I think we're not too far from the dark ages in which we're still looking at what we call mental illness as being a really bad thing, and yet do you realize that that's right, 2/3 of the society is suffering in this time, in this culture, in this society from major depression, and that is really the lack of light, and the lack of light has to do with the spirituality, because there is nothing that cures mental depression, not any drug that cures it like the love light of God. And I know that sounds very, Sylvia says, like an evangelist, but it's true. That is the only narcotic, the only drug that is acceptable.
You know, when I would drive home to the mountains and I would see a deer, it's like when I saw that deer, it made everything go away from me, because that deer was just so gorgeous right
Yes.
by the road, and it was like God's gift to me.
Yes, yes. Or rainbow, or rain, or whatever it might be. Or like I said, or flowers, or stars, or like I said, the beautiful flowers, yes. Or an animal, hold an animal, or a,
So it sounds like, you're muted, one thing. It sounds like, it's admiring or appreciation of, God's work, and it's not, I don't think of it as being evangelical and, being so excited on Sunday and jumping up and down, which some people enjoy that. They love that ceremony. But it's what's that spark of the divine, and one of the phrases that came to mind while listening to that was, "In your weakness, there lies your strength sleeping." And yes, we need to identify what that weakness is and realize, oh, our strength is sleeping. It's not that we. I've joked in the past that I used to think, oh, I must have charted that, so I guess I just have to leave it. And I'm like, finally it dawned on me, no, no, we don't. It doesn't mean, that phrase doesn't mean let it sit there lying asleep. Wake it up. Figure out
Wake it up.
Yeah, wake it up. Wake up your strength. How do you do that? Well, you got to the exercise it, as it were. As you were pointing out, whatever thou lovest thou. So it's not necessarily about exercise, it's exercising what's asleep. Wake it up and jump out and do. Find different things to help, yeah, and do some research. There's tons of things, tons of resources for finding out, okay, in that weakness, whatever that is, what can you do to jump out of it? And I did see a comment, I did happen to see a comment that, microdosing, yeah, that's some people's ideas, but, as Francine was sharing with us, that, that's not getting your soul involved. That's only, helping in my opinion, that's helping the symptoms, not exercising what it is you need to exercise. So we need to be, exercising our spirituality, exercising ourselves, and I need to stop getting so much exercise and creating anxiety that I do things like gnash my teeth till I'm sore or hurt things. So I'm working at backing off a little bit.
Yeah, I really think that it takes a holistic approach in order to take a chunk out of like fighting back against depression and anxiety, and that's my personal approach for that as a mental health professional, but just in life as a person, as a Gnostic too, like, because we all want like that one thing, like, just give me a pill that makes all my problems go away.
Right.
Just give me a pill. But it really, really takes the whole system approach usually in order to take a meaningful chunk out of what is, what keeps perpetually like pressing people down. So it involves changing your thoughts. It involves thinking of the world in a different way, in a more flexible way. It involves not as like breaking habits that blame yourself for things that are beyond your control. It involves eating healthier. It involves it involves working with your doctor and finding a plan that's right for you. If there's medication that your doctor is thinking about. So it, like body, mind, and soul, and Francine right here is really emphasizing the absolute need for it coming always back to the core thing that gives us the deepest happiness, which is God and spirituality.
Yeah, and but too, just along the lines of, hey, we've talked about things to take or not take, or what do you exercise, how do you do that spiritually, but consult your doctor too. You got to research and uncover a lot of rocks to make sure you've gotten the information that's going to help you.
Absolutely. Like, I think of it this way: you find a tool that works, that like takes 5% of the edge off, right? And then you go on to the next tool that's maybe it gives you 3%. But now you've got now you're working up. You see, it's building up. And then you find the next tool. You do the next thing. You start taking like walks a couple of days a week. You start doing meditation, like Kristen suggests. Gibson says like being more of a participant in your life. As you start like doing like these small changes, and like over time, it starts to create a very, very different painting. And so every little thing that you do, it counts, even if it feels like depression and anxiety are just insurmountable and they're mountains that can't be moved. Yes, they can move. Yes, they can. You just take it a step at a time.
Yeah, and
hug an animal. That's the last thing that we heard. The trance, hug an animal.
and the to my understanding, like the biggest challenge that can create that depression is grief. And both, I believe both Sylvia and Francine have said there is no pill for it. It's you got to just walk through it day at a time, even if it's a minute at a time. Give yourself that time, and those, it's not just the death of a loved one, the passing of a loved one. It's loss of a job. You had to move. You had to
divorce.
Divorce is another big one too. So keep those in mind when you're feeling like, oh, why do I feel dead? Why am and so jokingly, it's like, okay, well, ask yourself, either at night or in the morning, when's the last time you woke up excited? Okay, that's a fun, helpful indication of your level of depression.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was fascinating too what she's saying about anxiety. So we had a couple questions in the chat about if there's such a thing as healthy anxiety, and it sounds like from what they've said in other trances, yes, it does sound like there is such a thing as functional anxiety. She's said in the past, like, if we didn't have adrenal glands that give you the rush of like, oh, you need to do something, then we would all be just stuck on a couch all day, unable to do anything. Yeah. So yes,
I make a point on that.
Yes.
From my experience, there's anxiety from fear, or anxiety from anxiety isn't always about fear. Anxiety can be
true
out of desire or righteous anger.
True.
And that's another driver, motivator, is to want to say, so yeah, there's desire versus fear, and it's that desire anxiety of, hey, I want this to be the best that it can be, because I want to do a good job, versus, oh my God, I'm gonna feel horrible as a human being because this wasn't accomplished, or this person, didn't accomplish what they needed to do, and it's my fault. And so there's the two differences of anxiety that we want to have a good positive perspective on.
Yeah. Yeah. And we heard last week Francine saying that she believed that that anyone that has an artistic bent, a creative bent, they tend to have anxiety. She thought that like was a necessary part of their soul and their spiritual progression, because anxiety is like, I'm feeling antsy, I have to create something.
I'm restless.
It's the
I
point
want
of
to get
creating. Yeah.
There you go. Otherwise, you may never produce anything and never get anything completed. So yeah, having that self motivation.
Mm-hmm. I know for myself, I'm going to be doing some reflecting on her description of like what an anxiety attack is, and that she said like anxiety attack. I don't have like anxiety attacks, but I definitely am aware of moments where anxiety is like at a peak. Like some days are just like but she was saying that it's like inverted anger. It's like you're angry at yourself over something, and sometimes that could be very honest, where like you messed up, or that you're dropping the ball on something. But for other people, sometimes they are angry at themselves for something that isn't necessarily tracking on reality. So it could be reacting to the script.
It sounds like fear of not accomplishing, and anger at yourself over that fear.
Yeah. So, but I like what she said, just giving yourself permission that if you are in an anxiety attack moment, to just let yourself go through it. Let yourself work through it. So anyway, good discussion. Interesting.
Let's see. Where are we here? Okay. Want to do next?
Yes, let's do it. So next segment we have discussing spirituality without fear feels euphoric. Fear can make a short-lived euphoria. Christ hung on the cross because he chose to stand up for his truth, not because he was dying for sins. Someone who is incurious about spirituality is like unleavened bread. Fascinating.
So did we run out of yeast?
We ran out. Yeast didn't arrive. It didn't even arrive.
We used it up last year is what we did. Anyway. Okay.
Pandemic yeast, yeah.
Yes. All right. Take notes.
Yes.
The other major touchstone that's in my life, since meeting Sylvia, of course, was when I'm able to, in some way, share some of my learning, some of the knowledge that Francine and Sylvia have given me. There's nothing quite like it. And most of you at one point or another have been approached, and you just start into this thing, and it's coming out of you, and
that's
you're going,
euphoric.
wow,
That's euphoric.
this is what it's meant to be alive.
Yeah.
And we have a unique opportunity to do that a lot. This group specifically.
Yeah.
And
Without fear. If you ever
fear.
notice that some of the fundamentalists, I have to say in all honesty, become alive with this.
Yeah.
The tragedy is that they become, the thing that lights their torch is fear. And the fear of the Lord and the fear of God. And that seems to light their torch, but that burns very bright and dies very quickly.
Yeah.
But to have this companionship with God, to have this wondrous feeling that God walks with you and you're doing what is by the truth, the way, and the light, then that should be an euphoria. And whether it's here that you do it, or whether you become a Jehovah's Witness, or whatever you may become, if you don't have that coming alive, as Sylvia says, the quickening, and it is the quickening, is, and they used to say the quick and the dead, but the quickening can come in life, is this marvelous, I am bent on the salvation of my own soul by my own temple's dictation, by my own truth within my heart. That's what sets you alive. Not a man, not a woman, not a child. not anything. And I think that's why, yes, I think that's why they like to betray Christ, even though he was a married man. I think they were very smart in trying to betray him in many ways as a lone entity, because that somehow symbolized the fact that mankind, not just man, but mankind could make it through the desert of his life alone. Even though, even with him, he had a band of merry men, so to speak, that did at least resonate with his belief system, which was Gnostic. And through that, he gained tremendous, and was willing to at least be sacrificed for it. Not die, but sacrificed for that. And that was something that was portraying to the world for my belief and my truth, to get rid of the fear and the agony of fear. I will hang on this cross. Not for the sins of you, not for the sins of people that would come after, but for his belief in what he believed to be truth. And anyone that would not in some way be crucified, whether by infamy or desecration, let's say, even of their reputation, is not worth it, because everyone has to go through their trial by fire. And some of you have gone through it internally as well as publicly. But that is the mark of the soul. God doesn't test clay. God tests people. There's no testing to clay.
That's very.
Yes.
Is there anything that someone spiritual can do to help somebody who claims that they have no curiosity at all about spiritual things? No curiosity.
I wouldn't bother with them. I wouldn't. Because that can either be dark or gray, or it can be also the fact that the person is just so new to lives that it doesn't matter to them anyway. And you can spend hours and days trying to promote some kind of belief system in something that's not there. Now that's something that is not malleable. You cannot even poof it into something. No.
It'd be better if they even argued against.
Well, it's
that'd be something.
No, it's unleavened bread. There's no yeast. It doesn't rise.
Is it someone then that you shouldn't be associated with?
I wouldn't be. I can't imagine anyone, and whether I'm in life now, which I'm not, or was, I couldn't imagine ever living a life at any time in which I could not speak to someone about my spiritual values. It wouldn't be worth my life if I could not. If I couldn't grab someone's hand, that's right, and say, this is where my deepest feelings of my soul lies, and this is what we can discuss. I don't mean walking around and discussing about spirituality, but even turning to somebody and say, well, it's in my chart. At least that, and having someone acknowledge or give you a nod that they know this to be true, it's some kind of euphoria unto itself. But to turn to someone and say, what do you mean your chart? And explain it to them, and then have them stare back at you and say, that's ridiculous, then go away.
Well, now there's a difference then. This person in particular would not say that's ridiculous. He would actually listen to what I had to say and consider it. And yet he'll profess that he has no curiosity and is fearful of how much curiosity I have.
Maybe
I think it's a different level, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're talking about somebody who's just first into life. He's just a beginning learner. But then you have to say, and not all egotism or ostentatiousness, how much at this point of your life in your spiritual growth do you want to go down to that level now and drag back up? No, I'd say no. No, I don't think so. No. I think there comes a point in life, and it seems very egotistical to say, that you get to a level of the pyramid in which you're so out of breath and you've crawled up and you're so beaten up and bloody that you don't want to crawl back down and drag somebody else up, especially if they're not willing to just run right up with you.
Let them go on their own and maybe they'll
Let them stay on their own rung. They're perfectly happy where they are. Let them stay under the shelter of the part of the pyramid that you're on the top of.
Don't cast your pearls.
Yes. Yes.
Francine, I would like to ask you a question about an entity I saw portrayed on television recently. His name is Philip Pauley, and he's from Colorado. They were discussing, it was like a documentary on this young man. He's young still, but seems so highly evolved and advanced. It was quite astounding to see an entity of his nature that is so young, so advanced. And I wondered if the name means anything to you, if it's an entity.
Not at all. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I'm not aware of him, but that doesn't mean he cannot be.
Almost lost my train of thought, so go ahead and start.
Sure. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting to hear her reflect that if someone is brand new to their, if someone is like really, really young in their perfection scheme, it sounds like, of incarnations, then they're not curious and there isn't anything to like really bounce off of for helping them even rise up. Like they haven't had enough like
experience
work in themselves to help them find like the motivations and the things that they're curious about for their spark.
Yeah.
Spark of curiosity is just, it's a precious thing. It's a very, very, very precious thing. If you don't have a spark of curiosity for life, I can see how Francine would said, like, I don't understand how, like she was saying, like, I don't see how I would want to be around somebody who I couldn't share spiritual values with. And it makes sense because there's just nothing
in common.
Yeah, nothing in common.
On what how do you say is higher priority for a spiritual person, somebody who's not, thinking about that, then there's, you don't have much in common.
Yeah. It's interesting too, though, because I've got several people in my life who I love absolutely like dearly, and they're of different faiths or just straight up atheist, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But people, so this isn't, it's like for me, the way that I see it is like, okay, so for some people in my life, maybe I'm not always talking about like, oh yeah, I was praying to Asna about this thing the other day, and
yeah.
But we share enough language because they're spiritual in their own ways. They just haven't gotten to like the next place yet, which is fine. It's fine with me.
And for
still loving people, still loving, caring people who are working on themselves.
You have something in common. You like to share ideas, and we don't have to be friends with only this kind of person. We can have lots of different friends.
To be light for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. And
like for a wide variety of people.
There you go. Plus, an analogy that's been shared with the speaking of the person, or the person they were talking about, the friend that's like not curious. That's like having the spiritual person. They're like 150 watt light bulb, really super bright light bulb, and the other person isn't. They're not as bright. And so sometimes on a spiritual level, when you're beaming and glowing, it's like it's kind of annoying to them.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. And I think we've all had experiences of people in our lives who see us glowing quite bright and they try to put us out, get us back down. But stop that. Stop making that racket. So yeah, I value having Gnostic friends so much, so very much. So we can have these beautiful conversations, and I don't know. I think my train of thought is just overwhelmed with gratitude right now. Couple comments. Gibson says, and you don't want to feel like you have to hide part of yourself. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Ramona says, so appreciate that Sylvia brought Asna to light for us. Yes. God, it just changed my world. Asna's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Miss LJ shares, when walking through the storm, keep walking and pray and meditating through. Picture how beautiful it will look once you reach the end, and you will see the ending soon.
Nice. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Naomi shares, Gnostic friends are a growing light energy. I love to share and feel the light of this group. Absolutely. Absolutely. I also thought it was interesting that she noted that people who are fear-based in their approach to God, like they fear God, they can also have moments of euphoria about it. That's very disconcerting, but I can see how it's true.
Yeah. the way I understand some of the ideas and the the motivations of the what's the right word? I want to say it correctly and respectfully of the people that are jumping up and down in excitement on Sundays, and they get all emotional,
Evangelists?
excited. That's a group, yes, and many, to my understanding, a lot of that is, fearing God. But here we are rejoicing and getting excited, and yeah, that with all that excitement and the emotion and yeah, you it can just out of that's like pushing our humanistic buttons to generate that euphoria.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh man, yeah. I can't hold in my head the two things. Like if I were to be afraid of my parent and also ecstatically love them at the same time, any therapist would say, "Hey, that is an abusive relationship."
That's yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like, well, my mama, my dad like whooped me when I was young, and I still love them, and but
Yeah,
you also
well,
believe all these additional stories of like, if you do this, you're going to be damned for all eternity, and just like the most, these violent descriptions, and it's like having a sociopath living in your house. Like that's
yeah.
no. God is if God is loving, then God is loving. Period.
Well, that's how we want to observe it. It's yes, there are people that are fearful of God, and that's uh, that's the lesson they've come here to work through, and
To work through.
they want to experience and feel that that's the way things are. That's what they're. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's true. There's one more thing that I want to highlight before we move on. And she said that Christ hung on the cross because he chose to stand up for his truth and not because he was like dying for sins. So if anyone is newish listening and they're wondering about that statement, we like what we were told like through trance is that Jesus was a best described as a pure report, just incredibly holy man, but we are all children of God. And so it doesn't make sense. Like we don't as Gnostics don't believe in sin. We believe in the Aramaic definition of sin as being an archery term that meant to miss the mark. Yeah, we miss the mark. We miss the mark numerous times a day. But it's not something that is part of our concept of
Horrific or damning.
we don't
There's
believe
no
in hell.
retribution involved with it. It's just
No.
so you missed the mark. Guess what? Try again.
Yeah, it doesn't take away from our belief in Jesus's just incredible wondrous holiness. So it doesn't take away from his sanctity to us.
Well,
So
to add to your point, for those that as you expressed, for those that are new to the philosophy, yes, Jesus didn't die on the cross for our sins, but oh, by the way, he didn't die on the cross. There was that, the conspiracy where he was. Hey, it looked like he was dead, but he was sequestered off and finished out the rest of his life in France over a period of
yes.
time. So, and you can read about that in several of Sylvia's books.
Several.
Yeah, I don't recall all the names of them, but I know there's what is it
The Mystical Life of Jesus.
Jesus. There's one that will help provide some information for you, and it's been mentioned other places as well. So anyway, that's fun introduction.
Yes, fantastic. All right. Holy Blood, Holy Grail is another recommended reading. A lot of wonderful comments. Effie says, "I feel alive with this philosophy. I needed to tone it down with certain friends and family." Girl, I've been there.
we know we empathize with you. Sympathize. Yeah, we know your challenge.
It's just so wonderful. Wanting to share just like how beautiful this is. Miss LJ shares, "My mother was Pentecostal. I went to Catholic school, and I love Novus Spiritus. Go figure." Girl, you just had a big soul, and God was equally as big. And some people are giggling, so that's nice. Laughing with us, it's wonderful.
So, many of our parishioners joke about their recovering Catholics.
Recovering Catholics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. What do we got next?
All right. Last segment we have is people can gain weight to protect themselves. So we're going to listen to someone's challenging like home example and some of how like depression and anxiety are playing out with the various people that are living there.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of going out and changing the world, Sylvia suggested, well, why don't you let the world come to you? And some thoughts on facing the dragon and needless remorse.
Good. And this is the last segment of a trance session.
Cool.
So, which will be fun because in 2 weeks we'll be starting a new trance session.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. All right. Take your notes and let's enjoy this.
Yes.
I wanted to ask a question about a roommate of mine. She seems to be suffering from severe depression, and I've been asking for a long time for help for her. Seems to have gotten help from a psychiatrist, but she's mentally disabled, and I'm not so sure the psychiatrist is helping her because she put her on medication that makes her even more separate from what's already going on, and it seems to have made her behavior worse. And I don't know what to do now because when I tried to get help for her, they thought they were doing right. They took her to a psychiatrist. The problem with taking her to a psychiatrist is the psychiatrist doesn't live with her.
That's right, and doesn't see it.
Understand her.
No, and
behavior.
see, your hands are tied. See, there's that impotent. It's that you can't very well just barge in and tell the psychiatrist that he's, wrong. I think what I do, and I know I seem to be going in a nihilist form, but I just move out of this. I just move out of this situation. I see it getting nothing but worse.
For everybody involved.
Everybody involved.
It's time to leave.
It's time to leave. Because for one thing, she's not going to listen, and the psychiatrist is not going to listen, and here you are with the only one holding the bag of rationale.
Is this affecting the other people too?
Oh,
Because I have
absolutely.
another one who's obese.
Absolutely.
And she seems to be getting worse.
Sure, because she's trying to protect herself.
So what do you do? There's nothing open for them in the future. I don't see.
But you see, you can't save everyone, don't you see? Everybody has their own chart. And they, by design, have chosen this. One is getting bigger and the other one is becoming more demented. Can't do anything. What could you do? Go in and beat the psychiatrist up and tell them that they're wrong? Or, no, I'm not being facetious. No, you just can't. Or shake her and say you're getting worse. Nobody's listening. Yes.
You know, it's interesting, Francine, because only when I was able to truly accept my own purpose, my own goals, my own chart, when I hear all the things around me, I used to try to do something, try to help, and feel this, helplessness.
I know.
And now it's really different. I just accept that that's what they're experiencing.
Absolutely.
Let it go.
Absolutely.
And I can now say to my friend, well, you need to experience that, but, hurry up and get through it.
Yes, get done with it. Cut your finger, break your ankle, go through your dimension, then get over it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get caught in their karma.
Right.
See, that's what I don't want you to do. That's a sticky fly trap. Now, does that denote the fact that we're not going to help people? Of course not.
No.
But there are all kinds of blocks. Like, for instance, she's facing these blocks. The person that's demented is not going to listen. The psychiatrist is only just going to keep medicating. The other person is going to get bigger and bigger. What can she do? Nothing. Yes.
Francine, what she was relating to is a beautiful thing that Sylvia did one lecture. I remember when I first discovered myself like you did, I was ready to go out and I'm going to change the world. Yeah. Well, Sylvia sat me down and says, why don't you, instead of changing the world, going out and changing, why don't you let the world come to you? Mm-hmm. And when those thoughts sank in, now I help those that come to me and that I can help and are chosen to come to me.
That's right. Otherwise, you just run around like Sylvia said with a chicken with your head cut off. It just, there's no direction. Yes.
If you don't experience it for yourself, you don't learn the lesson. And so it's like, if you help somebody experience it, they somehow maybe don't get what they're supposed to get. And then whenever you've gone on, they have to go through it again to really learn it.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right.
It's like Sylvia with all the medical stuff and everything and all the things and the thing with her ex-husband and all the stuff she went through, she had to go through it so that she knew what it felt like. It's like the cancer I had and all this stuff. I had to go through it so then I could...
No, that's not Sylvia's chart. Sylvia's chart was an example chart. That's a little bit different.
Big bull.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
Shoot me.
No, she didn't have to do it. She's in an option life.
Okay.
She doesn't. Her chart was done a long time ago. She didn't have to come down to this life. But what she came down to this life was because she's an example life, so she was supposed to experience all this stuff, not for herself, strange enough, but for all of you to experience and watch to see what was going to happen with her.
Because she gives us hope, because she's...
The same with everybody on the other side that watched her. I'm not bragging, but you will never in your lifetime see another entity like her.
No, you won't.
Only because I'm telling you, not because I'm her guide, but you will never, not in any lifetime, see another entity quite like her. Things that you will never know, never see, that this woman has done is far beyond anything you would ever imagine. The healings that she's done, the hope that she's given, the miracles that she's created. She gets so mad at me. But you have not seen, you will never see another entity, not in this world's planet like her. Now, if you tell her I said that, she will just rip me to pieces, if she could get a hold of me.
I'd like to...
And I will tell you, and I will probably never tell you this, it's nothing more than an honor to me, even though she and I have had our ups and downs, that I was chosen to be her guide. There was no higher honor that anyone could have ever bestowed on me.
And it's our honor to be here to listen to you.
That's
Yes.
You're a good girl. I'd like to add a soundbite to that soliloquy. Sylvia lives for your sins. A little twist there.
Yes.
We're talking about fear that we all experience growing up and facing it. Is there a time or a process of growth that takes place when you actually can overcome fear?
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
What is that exemplified?
When you get to the point that you're not fearing anymore, then you've really reached your own type of nirvana.
When you face the dragon.
When you face the dragon and you pull its teeth out. And sometimes to face the dragon, you have to face it in its ultimate. Not the anticipation of what is the worst that could happen. He could chop your head off and then you go to the other side.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate. Yes.
Isn't it, to answer one thing with John there, isn't it true that as you deeper you go into our philosophy, the easier it is to throw fear out?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And there isn't a person in this room, speaking not only Sylvia, that hasn't advanced magnificently. We see your auras, your shining example. Just the fact that you even sitting there listening, not just because it's me, but the fact that you're even curious about your soul has given you such an avatar type of spirit that you could go out today and become an avatar anywhere because of the knowledge you know. I think the only reason that you stay is because you're anxious to see what the next chapter holds.
Right.
Want to learn more.
Yes.
Work in progress.
You fight for now, but how about you deal with remorse? I wish I didn't,
Oh, no, don't do that. No, because there was no way you could have done anything different. So to say I should have done, I didn't do, I wish I hadn't, lost, gone. It was meant to be. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you, and I won't.
Interesting reminder of I could have, should have, would have, and it when I think about it and when I hear how Sylvia responds to that, it's if you had it all to do again, you would probably do the exact same thing because you'd be in the exact same situation and making the same exact choice.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I think is really interesting because at the end of our lives, that's when we do kind of the
some of us beat ourselves up looking at the scanner on the other
saying,
side.
like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Why did I do this? But that's where the real learning kind of is happening, because it's what would you do different in the future? So because you can't go back and change anything because you only knew what you knew.
You're right.
And you felt what you felt, you knew what you knew, and it would have been the same thing any other way. But now, going forward, that's where the learning happens to say, like, all right, what would I do different in the future now that I know how things played out? And that's really interesting to just reflect on. And it gives us all the space to forgive ourselves, in my opinion.
There was, I'd written a note about, says soapbox or sharing, and I was like, oh, I think there was they were talking about, were they talking about sharing with others or convincing others about your beliefs versus not? Oh, that's what it was. It was instead of you going out to the world and expressing, it's like let the world come to you. And to me, that's like walking out to say a crowded intersection and putting up your soapbox and screaming and yelling at the top of your lungs, "You're sinners! You need to fear God." I'm like, oh, please, what an ignorant, But hey, that's. Who's going to listen to you? Whereas if you go out as an example, you've got your spiritual light and you do your everyday thing, and your people are going to get drawn to you, and your people are going to ask questions. The conversation's going to start. Yes, it's a challenge sometimes when you're first learning that, hey, when you're not, when you're anxious about social situations, it's going to take some time, but that's also part of the lesson. But being out there and available, so when those conversations come up, I had this dream. Let me share, listen, but also, hey, I've got some things that, may help as well.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's the path to learning how to forgive ourselves. Now, to change the subject, It is the first of the month, which is the day where I have the Raheem's monthly
Yes.
health recommendation to drink a glass of water that has 1/4 teaspoon cream of tartar and 1 teaspoon baking soda in order to like help with cleansing the body.
Yeah.
So cleansing the body. I will not drink this on camera because it is disgusting. But it's just a reminder. Here it is. It's my accountability moment. So
Great.
during meditation, I'll be contemplating that.
There you go. Contemplating. All right. All right. For those of us that want to participate in the meditation, we can ignore drinking the concoction and listen to the meditation and get some rejuvenation on our own. But you want to participate, we encourage you to sit with your feet flat on the floor and your palms upward on your lap to garner that wonderful rejuvenating energy. And for those of you that need to pay attention to what you're doing, don't pay attention to us, but by all means come back and listen to these wonderful meditations in the on-demand. And for everyone else, I gotta find where'd it go? We're gonna choose that. Let's do meditation and enjoy.
Find a comfortable position, sitting in a chair, with your feet flat on the floor and your palms upward on your lap. Now, take 3 deep breaths to start relaxing the mind and the body. Now, when you are ready, close your eyes.
The well-traveled road. Ask for the power of Mother God and Father God, the Holy Spirit, and your Christ consciousness to envelop you. And I want you to feel yourself walking in a field that is bright with flowers. The wind is blowing. Suddenly, as you are walking, you are aware that there are others walking with you. Some are running behind you, some to either side, some are skipping in front of you, and some are holding hands with each other and with you. You're all going along exhilarated, enjoying the warm and beautiful day, eager to see where you will finally end up. As the day progresses, the sun gets high, then begins to drop. You notice that there are not many chuckles, laughs, or footfalls around you. You look around. Is it your imagination, or are there fewer people with you? Well, you could have been mistaken. The sun sinks deeper, and the beauty seems to disappear. Yet you are determined to walk on. It gets darker, and now you are utterly alone. It is scary. But you know that God and your guide are there, although not visible. You walk alone, with no one to really pour your heart out to, or to walk with you. Then in a half light, almost like a hologram, others begin to walk with you, shadowy at first, but shoulder to shoulder you are walking together. Maybe these are not just your first choices for companions. Maybe they're strangers in each other and into you. And there is something about the eyes, the handshakes, the hugs, that speaks to you of sisterhood, of brotherhood. As a group, you've traveled this road for thousands of years and will do it again. You feel calm, knowing that there is a spiritual homecoming. All pain washes away. All hurtful things that have been thoughtlessly spoken. Forgive these people and let it go. Walk on and feel the golden light of Christ and the God consciousness filtering all the way down to your toes. Keep the light all through the week and forevermore.
Now, on the count of 3, come all the way back to full alertness. 1, 2, 3.
Full alertness. I gotta look that up in the dictionary. See if that's a right. I like to mash words together. There's some fun core pieces tying together here, and loving yourself. How much do you love yourself? Well, okay. How well do you take care of yourself? How well do you care for yourself? And I've been thinking about evaluating that for myself, and along the lines you were saying, whatever thou lovest, lovest thou. So some fun, connections going on.
Yeah. A continuing thread for me, and it's come up in this trance as well as the meditation we just listened to, and this is the words of viewing Jesus and viewing God as companions and friends. And how much do you love your closest friend? That should be as much and more as how much we love God if we allow ourselves to feel worthy.
Mm-hmm. Fun notes.
Yeah.
If you have any questions about what we shared, feel free to post in chat or email us questions to Kat, that's K-A-T, at novus.org, or Tom at novus.org. And of course, we appreciate the listeners, both live and on demand. Show your appreciation for New Spirit Radio by sharing, promoting, liking, subscribing. Check out our websites at novus.org, sylviabrowne.com, chrisrightnow.com. Yes, we have Facebook existence. You can find us at Society of Novus Spiritus, Sylvia Browne Group, New Spirit Radio, and many study groups. Yes, we're on YouTube for Society of Novus Spiritus, as well as Chris's YouTube channel is Psychic Awareness. A lot of fun postings there, and Q&A questions, Q&A sessions that are always fun, and get a question answered. Let's see. If you want to learn more about our philosophy, you can start a study group because we supply monthly Sunday service CDs as well as a newsletter. And let's see, we've got church services. We are, let's see, the Nevada church is offering in-person services at this time, as well as Ellen Schloss has a special Sunday Zoom service. If you want to participate that, put your email on the website and you should get notified. I will be posting a Sunday service on Facebook and YouTube coming up this Sunday, so you can, it's going to be a classic of Larry and Sylvia, but also you can participate with the service as well, for those of you that are remote. And now it's time for the prayer ceremony that I was talking about earlier, the novena. For those of you that are new, we're going to say this phrase 3 times, and then all afterwards, and we're going to say it together. It doesn't matter when or where you are, we're all going to say it together. And that phrase is, I am God, I am part of God, I am God. All things are possible because I am God. So we'll say it together 3 times, and then I'll mention what we want to ask for, what kind of special things that we want to be asking for after each of those segments or sessions. So let's visualize we're all hanging on, holding hands, making this big circle in a large room someplace, or maybe in the middle of space, whatever, somewhere that's fanciful for you, because we could all be everywhere we want. And we're all going to say this together. So here we go. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Now, ask for things for yourself. Okay. Next one. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Now, ask for things for others. Okay, and the last one. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Now, picture our light going out like a beacon, shining for others seeking this spiritual knowledge. And let's think of something that you're appreciative of, whether it's us being here or you learned something new about yourself and your spirituality. But also show your appreciation to Francine and Rahim for researching all this wonderful knowledge. Sylvia for coming to this insane asylum of the universe to start this movement, and for showing us how to get some peace of mind and grace while we're here. And of course, Asna for helping and protecting us, and Father God for providing the most prestigious school for us to experience, learn, and satisfy our unique spark of curiosity. We'll appreciate Bob Ingold for helping out with the audio and some of the graphics, and Sammy and Javon for our wonderful intro-outro music. For the show, writing, setup, and hosting is MIT Catherine Taylor. Editing, technical direction, and hosting is Reverend Tom Bigley. And now, somewhere I'm going to find a prayer by Sylvia. Oh, there we go. That ought to work. All right. Enjoy.
prayer for funerals or graduations means going from one life to the other, because we believe that funeral is a graduation. Dear Mother and Father God, we ask for this soul to transcend. We ask for this soul to be bathed in your holy light. We ask for the tunnel to open wide, and for our loving Mother Asna to embrace a person who is graduating from this life, to be embraced to find their peace, their loved ones, and all people who have been in other lives. We ask for blessings to be upon all of those gathered who are left behind, but we know with the grace of God and with all assuredness that we will all be together soon. We ask for peace to descend on all whom are left grieving today, so they can be embraced by the mantle of our Holy Mother Asna. May the Christ consciousness attend them in their grief, and may the Holy Spirit surround them. Amen.
And Kat's going to tell us.
Allow yourself to love what you love, because whatever thou lovest, lovest thou.
For so
night.
long we have ignored you, as if you were not there. All praise went to the Father. We were so unaware that through the years you've shed your tears for all the pain we bear. Oh, Asna, how we love you. Place no one above you. Always thinking of you. Bless your name. You are Mother God. You've planted every blade of grass, creator of the stars. And when I'm feeling down and out, you mend my broken heart. So now I sing this song of thanks because of who you are. Oh, Asna, how we love you. Place no one above you. Always thinking of you. Bless your name. You are Mother God. You're more than a friend to me. You give me everything I need. In your peace you hold me tight. You are the bringer of the light. With no fear